Every major financial collapse in history begins long before the first headline, long before the charts turn red, long before the panic hits the streets. It starts quietly inside the minds of a very small group of people who see the storm forming long before anyone else does. In 1929, Joseph Kennedy saw it. In 1987, Paul Tudor Jones saw it. In 2008, Burry and Paulson saw it. And today, in 2025, the same pattern is unfolding again, almost step by step, like a script being replayed by the universe. The strange part is not that crashes happen. The strange part is that the smartest investors in every era prepare for them the exact same way. They convert to cash. They buy gold. And they position for volatility. 3 moves. Always 3. Not 2, not 5, 3. These are the moves Kennedy used before the Great Depression, the moves Tudor Jones used before Black Monday, and the moves Paulson used before the housing collapse. But here's the part most people never hear. These trades weren't magic. They weren't lucky guesses. They were mechanical reactions to a pattern, one that repeats, because human behavior never changes. Every bubble grows the same way. Every crash unfolds the same way. And the people who see the pattern early enough simply step out of the way and prepare. Think about Joseph Kennedy in 1929. While everyone else was celebrating the greatest bull market in history, he saw something different. He saw leverage everywhere, investors borrowing 90% of a stock's value just to buy more of it. He saw euphoria, the kind of blind optimism that makes people believe prices will rise forever. And he quietly converted everything to cash while the party was still going. Paul Tudor Jones did the same thing in 1987. The charts looked unstoppable. The media was celebrating. But Jones noticed the same warning signs: soaring valuations, strange new computer-driven trading systems, and debt piling up behind the scenes. So he stepped back, moved to cash, and positioned himself for a violent correction that arrived exactly when he expected it. And then there's 2008. Michael Burry spent years digging through mortgage data, seeing the truth everybody else ignored, that the entire housing market was built on sand. Paulson saw it, too. Buffett raised cash because nothing looked reasonably priced. All of them were quietly preparing while the world was celebrating the so-called endless boom. Now, fast forward to 2025. The same pattern is back, louder, bigger, and more global than anything we've seen before. Warren Buffett is sitting on the largest corporate cash pile in history. Central banks are buying gold faster than at any time since the 1950s. Funds are loading up on volatility bets tied to commercial real estate and inflated tech valuations. The smart money isn't predicting a crash. They're preparing for one. Crashes don't come from one headline or one event. They come from a chain reaction. First, prices disconnect from reality. Then leverage builds up. Then a small trigger causes forced selling. And once forced selling begins, it doesn't stop until markets collapse far below what anyone imagines. It's not fear that causes the crash, it's math. That's why the first trade is cash. Cash is not about timing the top. It's about not being the person who gets forced to sell at the bottom. The people who hold cash during crashes aren't just safe. They're patient hunters waiting for assets to return to realistic prices. The second trade is gold. Every time the financial system breaks, governments do the same thing. They print money to save it. And when they print money, currencies lose value. That's why gold has protected wealth for 5,000 years. It's not a trade, it's a seatbelt. And the third trade, volatility, is where fortunes are made. In 1929, Kennedy shorted the market. In 1987, Jones bought puts. In 2008, Burry bought credit default swaps. These trades didn't just protect their money. They multiplied it when everything else burned. Today, the same trade is building around commercial real estate, tech valuations, and over-leveraged corporate debt. You can see it in rising credit default swap prices, in huge institutional put purchases, and in the quiet language hedge funds use when they talk about asymmetric opportunities. But here's something few people realize. The crash isn't the end of the story. For the people who prepare, the crash is the beginning. Because after a crash, when fear is absolute and prices are demolished, that's when opportunity appears clearer than at any other time in the cycle. Kennedy bought businesses after 1929. Buffett bought banks during the depths of 2008. Ackman bought equities after the COVID panic. These weren't random decisions. They were the fourth trade, using preserved capital to buy the world at a discount. So the question isn't whether a crash is coming. The question is whether you notice the pattern before everyone else does. Because the pattern is always the same. Extreme valuations, excessive leverage, a trigger, forced liquidation, panic. And then silence, the moment when the brave step forward and buy what everyone else is dumping. Right now, in 2025, we are somewhere between the leverage stage and the trigger stage. The smart money has already moved. Insiders are selling. Central banks are hoarding gold. Hedge funds are wiring billions into volatility trades. These aren't predictions, they're preparations. History doesn't repeat perfectly, but it rhymes loudly. And right now, the rhyme sounds very familiar. If the pattern holds, the real storm arrives within the next 12 to 18 months. And when it does, many people will act surprised, except the ones who saw this moment coming all along. If you understand this cycle, if you can see it clearly, you don't have to be a victim of the crash. You can prepare for it. You can protect yourself from it. And if you choose, you can even profit from it. Crashes don't create winners or losers. They reveal who is paying attention. And the pattern has already begun.